Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. Thank y'all, everybody, for staying with us as we get through our night with our special guest, Big Nod. Of course, that was his track, Dreamer. And we talked a little bit before about your other track. Tell us about Dreamer. What's the deal with Dreamer?
Yeah, Dreamer, man. You know, it's basically just talking about me, you know, being a visionary and, you know, dreaming about the things I want to do and making steps towards that, and talking about my life and where I'm at right now, and, you know, and just being blunt, man, straight to the point about, you know, my maturity, you know, how I've grown to this point in my music. You know what I mean? That's the album, you know, the album title track as well, you know what I mean? Make Moves or Die, you know, parenthesis Dreamer, you know, and we got to keep dreaming, man, you know what I mean? Keep dreaming, you know, and just trying to make things happen, man, make a step towards us, you know, achieving our goals, you know. So that's what basically that about, man, is keep dreaming.
I can dig it. Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J, live from the den of Legacy Internet Radio. Be part of the discussion. Call us up, 804-402-2893 is the number to dial. Hit us up in social media, on our Facebook pages, on our, of course, social media, Instagram, Twitter, all of that kind of stuff. We appreciate those folks that are listening to us here on YouTube on our replays. Special thanks to our special guest, Big Nod, for joining us in studio. As we do every single week, we always profile a missing and or exploited child. Of course, this show is no different. Tonight we are profiling Laniqua Collins. Laniqua Collins is a 15-year-old black female with brown hair and brown eyes who has been missing since December 3rd, 2014, from right here in the capital city, RVA, Richmond, Virginia. She stands 5'7", weighs 120 pounds. She was last seen on December 3rd, 2014. She was wearing a black jacket, blue jeans, and green boots. If you have seen Laniqua Collins, please contact the National Center for Missing and or Exploited Children, or contact them on their website, missingkids.com. If you prefer to call them at 1-800-THE-LOST, 1-800-843-5678. We need to bring this young sister home, and any other of the missing and or exploited children that we profile here on this show. Typically, we try to focus on the Virginia area, but if you are outside the capital city and you see Laniqua Collins or anybody else, definitely make sure you get on the horn and you let the authorities know. If you're in the local Richmond area, contact the Richmond City Police Department at 804-646-5125. Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. Of course, rejoining the discussion right here on Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. is our guest, Tony, who joins us every single second Monday of the month. Tony.
Yeah.
You enjoying the show tonight? You hanging out with Big Nod over here, man.
Yeah.
He's giving us some
lady move makers.
There you go. He's giving us the good
Lady
wisdom.
makers.
He's giving us the good wisdom. So I'm glad that we got the crew that we got here. Of course, our sister Michelle K is checking in with us tonight. She's checking you out, Big Nod. She says hello to everybody. Michelle K, one of our longtime listeners, checking us out. What's up, girl? Thank you for checking in with us. Yo, listen, this is the point of the show, Big Nod. Every single week, we ask the question, what the hell?
What the hell?
Now, the last time you asked the question, what the hell, unrelated to this show, it was really about something crazy. Like, you only really asked the question, what the hell, if it's something crazy. You don't ask what the hell for something normal.
Right.
It's usually something crazy, right? Well, we know with all of the stuff that's going on in our country with regards to the police departments and the police brutality and the police involved killings and all of that kind of stuff, you would think that these police officers, or at least some of them, I can't speak for all of them, because I would venture to say that most police officers are good officers. So I don't want to put this on all of them. But the ones that wild out, hey, look, if you think all black people are crazy, don't get mad at black people for thinking all cops are crazy. That's the first thing. But I'm getting this one from the freethoughtproject.com. And this isn't, that's not the only place you can get this. It's on the AP wire, so it's everywhere. This is out of Phoenix, Arizona. This was last week. police had a involved shooting where 34-year-old Romaine Brisbane was shot and killed by the officer because the officer mistakenly thought that he was carrying a gun. The Phoenix Police Department has not revealed the name of the officer. For some reason, they always seem to want to wait a while before they do that. But according to the officers, they were involved investigating Brisbane because some neighbors allegedly told them that someone in an SUV was selling drugs in a nearby apartment complex. So from the start, the story seems a little suspicious because we know that the officers oftentimes fabricate anonymous tips as justification to search and harass people who they're interested in profiling. The family also suggests a false report may have been possible. Now, if you're someone who is police friendly, you think that's a bunch of bullshit. But the truth of the matter is, it happens. I think many of us in our community have seen it happen. Officers claim they approach his SUV and say he seemed to be moving things around in his vehicle and moving things in his pockets. When they attempted to interrogate him, he reportedly fled into the apartment complex. The officers hunted him down through the apartment complex, tackled him, wrestling him in the doorway of his own home. In the scuffle, the officer shot and killed him in the doorway of his home in front of his girlfriend and their small children. After searching his body, police found the object in his pocket was a bottle of pills and that he was actually unarmed in the chase. They also found, when they went back to the SUV, that they found a legally owned firearm. However, obviously, Mr. Brisbane made the conscious decision to leave the gun behind, so it stands to reason that he had no intent in engaging the officer. So I'm going to get you in on this one first, Tony. We haven't heard from you in a few minutes since we had our special guest, Big Nod, of Move Makers here talking with us about all the great things that he's got going on. So I want you to rejoin the discussion now. I won't pontificate any longer. I'll save my opinion about this story until after you guys. What's your thoughts when you hear a story like this?
I'm sitting here and my heart is actually racing. I hadn't heard about this story before now, and I'm reading the article as you were reading it, and what else can we do? I mean, it's really, I'm like about to get emotional. I'm trying not to, but this man was out in his neighborhood. He was in his car, and I can understand the police received a call, but you ask questions. But it's like now they're so trigger happy. Like you said, not all police officers are bad, and not all of them are afraid and hateful of brown people. But it just seems like now every little thing ends with the same result. And you didn't read the part about the police sergeant who read or his statement about the incident, where he states, quote, "When our officer lost his grip on the suspect's hand in close quarters with the suspect, our officer fired 2 rounds, striking the suspect in the torso with both rounds, ending the confrontation with the individual." Not killing Mr. Brisbane, but ending the confrontation.
With the individual.
Right, with the individual. So, I mean, it's just, I'm so tired of it, and it doesn't matter what their explanation is or their reason is for, him ending up dead after this confrontation. It's just unacceptable. It's just unacceptable, and unfortunately, there's probably going to be another one before the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I say, man, we as a people have to be more conscious and cautious of the moves that we make, because we are responsible for our actions as well. We all know that, how the police started off. The police force started off like the KKK, policing slaves and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Then it grew, became a, organization, corporation, and started issuing paychecks and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Then for long, some of the ancestors, other slaves started to be up on the force, and end up policing some of their own people. You know what I mean? So we know what we're fighting against. So we have to carry ourselves accordingly. Basically, we have to look at it like we are casualties of war. It's sorry to say, but that's the past. Being casualties of war. So, we have to know our past and know our present, and we'll be dealing with all this stuff been going on. It's not nothing new. It's new to a new generation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and the new generation have to figure out, all right, how are we going to deal with it? We seen how we dealt with it in the past, you know, all the civil rights movements, and you seen the effects of COINTELPRO, and you know a lot of things in the past that we've seen. Now we have to come up with new strategies, but first it takes unification. That's one thing that we're lacking in this time period that we had back then, unification. You know what I mean? Then, it's certain things that, the powers to be, manipulated and made us lose that unity. We're bringing crack into the community, and, other things like job opportunities and stuff like that. Paying people a little more on their jobs, and empowering a lot of women. You know what I mean? It causes separation in the home, between the man, the power struggle and structure and stuff like that. So, and that leads to a dysfunctional family, so the children are going to be more prone to go out and do things that's unwise, you know what I mean? And, make unconscious decisions out of frustration, anger, and stuff like that. And so a lot of times we're going out and making decisions and, acting out of character and put ourselves in a position for the enemy to attack us. We got to look at certain things like that too. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I remember back in the day, coming up in Richmond, it was certain parts that police didn't come around because we was more aggressive. We wasn't scared, to step up and use that tool and bust at them. When they come around our neighborhoods trying to rob us, you know what I'm saying, assaulting us and all that stuff like that. Back then, we just didn't play these things. You know what I mean? So only time they really came around certain neighborhoods is when it was a murder and they had to come pick somebody up.
They had no choice.
Yeah, and they didn't have no choice, and the brother maybe been sitting there dead for about an hour. Because they weren't coming around. Now they got a little more heart and everything. They want to come around because, a lot of the new generation is not that aggressive. It's a little more softer and all that stuff like that. And that got a lot to do with the powers that be, too.
Yeah.
The food we eating, the products that we buy, because we got to look at it certain.
We've been made to be very comfortable. And I will speak to myself as a grown man that's comfortable, but I also remember something as simple as getting my ass up off the couch to turn the channel. You know what I mean? Whereas now, that they got app on your phone where you can turn your cell phone into the remote control for the television.
I have that.
Yeah. I mean, and so I don't want to trivialize and speak to just one specific thing, but everything has been made to be so
convenient,
simple and convenient. From, damn, I missed my favorite television show. I'll just get it on demand. Like everything.
Not too active anymore.
You know what I mean? It's not too active. And so when you get lulled into a false sense of complacency, you are less likely to be aggressive, and you are less likely to fight when something doesn't go your way. When you are used to striving and struggling just to get the basics, even if it's as simple as getting up to walk across the room and turn the channel, you are a little bit more feisty.
Yeah.
Whereas they're not to that point now. But I still think that there's a certain level of respect that should be given from the authorities to the people. Now, when I said earlier that I understand that they got a tough job and we need to respect them, don't get it twisted, y'all. I'm not police friendly like that because I don't trust them. I just don't. That's just me. But I respect them. Just like as a black man, I don't really care if you trust me, if you're outside my demographic or if you're inside my demographic. I don't care if you trust me, but I do care if you respect me. You will respect me.
Yeah.
And so I think that's largely the problem, because to speak, Big Nod, with the things that you were saying about how the kids today aren't making the best choices. A lot of them are not making the best choices, which puts them on the radar of those police officers. So if you're doing the right things, you wouldn't even be on their radar. But my issue is with the people who aren't doing things wrong. You know what I mean? And there's plenty of them. You know, I went through, you know, a list on my, you know, on the show earlier this month and well, in the last couple of months, where I read the names of 20 black males who had been killed by police in the last 15 years. And the list was inconclusive because it didn't include the brother in the Walmart in Ohio, and it didn't include Tamar Rice, the young 12-year-old last week. I mean, and then it didn't include Mr. Brisbane, who we just talked about, who were unarmed. And since when does, you know, having an argument in a convenience store with no evidence of a strong arm robbery result in death? Because that's ultimately what the police were called for in the Mike Brown case. Since when does reaching for your wallet in the case of Amadou Diallo get you killed? That's what gets you killed now? You know, selling Lucy cigarettes that only really get you a citation and not even an arrest gets you choked out. In the case of Eric Garner, that's crazy. And I think a lot of it has to do with the mindset of the people who are the ones who are policing us and the people who support them. Brings me to the rawstory.com. Justice with Judge Janine, host Janine Pirro on Fox News. Now, we don't always talk about Fox News, and I spell Fox F-A-U-X. Look it up. Look up what F-A-U-X stands for and what it means. That's what Fox News stands for to me. A lot of those people that represent that channel and a lot of those people that support that channel have absolutely no clue what it's like to be someone in this country who is not privileged and who is not white. And I don't say that in a disparaging way. If you take it that way, then hey, you don't listen to this show regularly. But I want you to listen to something that she said as she closed out her show this week, one day last week. She was talking in the wake of the protests around the deaths of Michael Brown and Eric Garner. She's a former New York prosecutor and judge. She recited the poll question: do police need to be retrained on how to be sensitive to the minority community? Do police need to be retrained on how to be sensitive to the minority community? Take a listen to what she says and some of the questions that she got from some of the folks that listen to her show, and we're going to build about it. Listen.
The results of tonight's Insta poll. We asked, do police need to be retrained on how to be sensitive to the minority community? Overwhelming response was in favor of law enforcement. Jeff says, why is it always necessary to tiptoe around the minority community? And John says, I think criminals need to not resist arrest, whatever the community. And Larry says, no, enough is enough. The general public needs to be trained to be more sensitive to the police and show them the respect they deserve. I agree. And Bill says, you don't have a constitutional right to resist arrest. Most of these incidents that go bad all start with someone not following a lawful order. And Cindy says, how about everyone be taught to follow the rules and the laws? Wouldn't that just solve the problem? Axel says, as a retired law enforcement officer, shouldn't the public be retrained on obeying lawful orders of the police? And Jordan says, yes, those cops were racially profiling. Hey, Jordan, you don't even know what racial profiling is. That's when race is used to engage law enforcement in the minority community. But offender profiling is when an offender is ID'd by a description including his race, which is the only way to investigate some of these cases. And Ann says, sure do. I seriously doubt this man would have been treated so harsh if he were white. And you're wrong. Did you notice the African-American cops standing around? That's it for us tonight.
You get sick. You can't breathe through your
Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. All right, Tony, I'm watching your body language as we were going through that clip there. I want to get your opinion on it first. So she basically says that we in the, and I hate to use the phrase minority community to refer to people of color, because reality is we are the majority if we're looking at the world. But for the purposes of the discussion and the purposes of the discussion referring to the United States of America, which is the country that we all live in, we'll go ahead and use the phrase minority. She's saying that minorities need to be more sensitive to the police. What do you think about that?
First off, I love how true to Fox form she, snuck in the I agree. And then most of the comments that she highlighted were kind of in line with what, of course, her personal feelings and thoughts were. As for Judge Pirro, I would love to, see her in the midst of all that confusion. Put her in the middle of those communities. When has she ever even been inside a community? She's a judge. I'm sure she had to be some sort of attorney or something like that. Like, I wonder what her background is in the judicial system, because it's probably, she's probably had a lot of brown people in front of her. So she also, may feed into that. Well, they're bad, they're wild, they're all criminals, so arrest them. I don't watch Fox News. Period. I don't watch anything on Fox. I don't watch any of the shows. I don't watch anything on Fox. And it's for this reason. There's freedom of speech, but crap like this is why, the police officers and so many people in the government, and just the public in general feel like it's okay. I do agree with the comment that not only do citizens need to know how to, you need to know your rights, not just what you're supposed to do when you're accosted by a police officer, but you need to know your rights as well. And yeah, police officers need to have some sensitivity training. I don't know if you guys got to see any of Jeff Johnson's interview with the president this evening.
I saw that he had the interview, but I didn't get a chance to see the detail. First of all, I love Jeff Johnson.
I do too. Okay. I absolutely love him. I will say that the president was very
non-committal.
Yes,
that's because that's what he does,
and very political and thoughtful as always with his responses. So there was always that long pause, before he uttered a word,
and then he stuttered profusely.
Yes, but he did say without saying. Kind of one of the big questions that Jeff asked him was, a lot of people think that you're being very complacent. Like, why aren't you being more aggressive toward this issue? And Jeff didn't pose it as a, well, maybe I think he may have said something about, him being brown as well. But he said, well, as the president of the United States, I can't. If I were to get involved, it would tip the scales of justice, and the president can't do that. So we have to leave it up to like the local jurisdictions to do what they can. And then he went back around to say that, they need to make sure that the police officers receive the training that they need. You can't change the mindset of people, and they have this task force, I guess, that's been put into place where there's different groups of people to try to make sure outside of the police department itself, and internal affairs, to make sure that everything is being investigated from a
police to police, right?
Pretty much, essentially. Right. But he was non-committal, I guess, if you say. If you want to say that, but
see, he's Obama. He's the president, so
and so you expected his response is what you expected. Yeah. But I will say that without saying, he did say that this is not just a brown issue, a brown, black, white issue. It's an American issue.
It's definitely an American issue.
Right.
To bring upon martial law.
Right. But he
point blank simple. It's propaganda,
He used, the fact that things don't necessarily look today like they were, 50 years ago. Yeah. While to some of us it may seem that way. Mm-hmm. It feels you're not lynching people, but you're getting the same result. Mm-hmm. But I watched that and I'm just like, you wonder why, not more is being done externally outside of our communities, because we have our president who looks like us, and you're the president, but you can do more. You have to do more, because if you don't do more, the people under you don't do more.
He has done more to open the doorways to have martial law to go more into full effect. And once martial law goes more into full effect, here come more of the microchips and everything. It's all about control. Like I was speaking about earlier, once you realize your place, it's a harsh reality. And once we realize our place, we casualties of war. We have to remember, so once we realize what happened to our people in the past and where we are at now, You know, how things have been covered up with the illusions and all the manipulation and stuff like that. If we have the right knowledge, you see what I'm saying, then Unified know how to come up with a plan to attack, you know, a focal point. You know what I'm saying? Except for example, like personally, you know, I'm not in agreement if I go to this certain store every day or all the time that's close by my home, you know, I'm not going to burn it down. Personally,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? It's not their fault. It's not, I'm not going to go kill the first white person close to me or hurt or abuse the first white person close to me. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, if they got a certain mind frame and mindset, a certain character, and they talking that mess, we might go put them in place. You know what I'm saying?
But you know the problem. You know the problem with that though, nah, and I'm agreeing with you. But see, you know what really gets me is that the media will portray people of color as savages and crazy people, and you know, and big ups to the news media outlets that talked about what went on in Berkeley yesterday, which we know Berkeley is not a place that you have a lot of people of color, and that was the most violent of all the riots that we've seen since all of this stuff started going down. And the video showed that it was not people of color who was actually doing a lot of that kind of stuff. But when you talk about us burning down, not you, I'm just saying in general, when we talk about you burning down your own neighborhoods during times of unrest and during times of frustration, we can talk about now, we can talk about the riots in LA behind another police beating and Rodney King, you know, and the feds came in and took care of that where those juries locally couldn't. I'm not going to justify it. This might come off like I am. Really, I'm not justifying it. But when you look and see that they rioted in 2004 in Boston when the Red Sox won the World Series, and they rioted in Pennsylvania a couple years ago when Joe Paterno got let go, and they burned couches in West Virginia, you know, and the Pumpkin Festival, and all of these bullshit reasons to get mad. You're not even mad. You happy. The Red Sox ain't winning 86 years, and you go and you burn the town down. Why wasn't that kind of brought up? And I think, I know the reason. But I think that what you're saying and what I'm agreeing with is we got to be smarter than that, man. We got to be smarter than that.
That's
because
the focal point, you know.
Because the
what are we
tactics
attacking?
the tactics that we used before don't work.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that the president did say, because Jeff Johnson was like, you know, it seems to kind of be like when like every third incident, like you're on TV and you're addressing it and then that's it.
Yeah.
And, you know, the president kind of gave the excuse of, well, you know, something happens overseas and there's a war, la, la, la. But it's important to, you know, kind of have those conversations with our children that, you know, it is a process. So we can, you know, get together and protest peacefully, of course, now, but they have to understand that it's not something that's just going to change overnight. Nobody's going to enact a law next month saying that, you know, you have to follow this protocol before you can arrest or restrain somebody. But it's important for us as adults, because I refuse to let my son live in this for the rest of his life. I don't want him living in fear. I don't want him feeling like he has to walk around with his head down, you know, just intimidated and afraid to live. I don't want that. So it's important to us to learn what can we do differently to change it, because it's not okay. And I don't feel, and I refuse to accept that we're helpless to change it, because we are.
Yeah. And a lot of times, too, is having the right knowledge, too, of, you know, like we said, going back to where we come from and what's ours, who we really are, and stuff like that, knowing that, you know, if we learn about sovereignty, you know, and learning about, you know, this is our land, you know, you have invaded our land, you know, there's proper paperwork out there, you know, if we become contract masters, might want to check that out, contractmasters.com, and get more into your sovereignty, you know what I'm saying, knowing who you are, if you're Native American, or, you know, and just knowing your background and knowing you're okay, you can't pull me over, you know, you can't say anything to me. Matter of fact, let me indict you, because you own foreign land. You know, matter of fact, I might as well get you locked up. Let me lock you up, because you breaking the law right now. You know, it's just all about having the right information, right knowledge. You know what I'm saying? But we have to investigate these things, and the information is out there for us. You know, it's all about what do we gear to? You know what I mean? And as long as we stay a part of their corporations, you know, we're going to be victims of their corporations. And you're born into it. The only way you can fight it, like I said, through right knowledge, right information, so you can have a focus point to attack. You know what I mean? Because we can't do nothing in a chaotic mind frame. You know what I'm saying? We just get angry and frustrated, then, you know, we go, no, we need to sit back, regroup, and say, hey, where's this coming from? Oh, there you go, right there. Okay, let's make sure it's coming from there for real.
Right.
And then go attack it, have the proper steps. You know, like I said earlier, a man with a plan is precise with his life. You know, and as a group, you know, as a race of people, we need to take back charge.
How do you do
it? Like I said, first start off is knowledge itself, knowing who we are, where we came from. You see me? What was left behind for us from our ancestors? What was taken from us, you know, and covered up. You know what I'm saying? On simple lower levels, like, is money out there for us? You know, you can cash a birth certificate in, and get money back. You won't even be a part of the system anymore.
Right.
It's just a lot of information, you know, that you can dig and get into that will separate you from all of this. And you won't have to be a victim. Right. You know what I'm saying? We victims because we choose to be. We you know better, you do better.
Right.
You know
I think a lot of the problem, once you get past that, is when you have people. I think financial stability and financial power goes so far in this country, and I think that's one thing that is lost upon our community, because there are certain laws and there are certain things that have been put in place that if we did things the right way, we could have benefits. For example, if you study history, because you can't do nothing without studying history. Like, you got to know what you did in the past that worked and what you did in the past that didn't work.
Like Black Wall Street.
Yeah. Because that was money.
We was thriving.
We was thriving until they decided they didn't want us to thrive no more, and they burned it down. They burned it down. But the thing is, man, every single and I say this on the show all the time. 804-402-2893 if you want to be down. Thank you to folks on TuneIn, and thank you to the folks listening to us on the replays on YouTube. I always say this. Every single strive that we've ever made historically has had some sort of financial component. Even if you go back, and a lot of people don't understand the connection here, but if you go back to the abolishment of slavery, that was a money deal. Definitely. That was all about the fact that the South, you know, was not wanting to be a part of the Union, and they wanted to do their own thing. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that they had slaves that was doing what they needed to get done, and they were sitting back collecting checks. And they did not want, and the North did not want them to be able to go forward with that. Not because they was holding on to slaves, not because of that, but it was all about, y'all ain't doing this right. This ain't cool how y'all doing it. So, you know, the great liberator Abraham Lincoln said, well, you know what? We're going to abolish slavery, and we're going to take that from you. That was a money deal. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a money. Yeah. So what's the?
But look at the 13th Amendment.
Well, I mean, the 13th Amendment basically says that you get to be good old slave again if you end up in jail. Yeah. And people don't read their book. You know, they need to stay in that book, because that book is going to tell you all the rules you need to have to be a citizen in this country. And that book is called the United States Constitution. You got to read it, man. You got to read it. If you don't read it, then what you going to do? You know what I'm saying? You don't know.
They make moves or that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, illegal search and seizure is not legal. That's why it's illegal. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's real stuff that we talk about here, and I'm thankful for Big Nod to be here and to help us flesh this out, along with our sister Tony, who's here every single second Monday of the month. Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J, of course, live from the Den of Legacy Internet Radio, 804-402-2893. Nah, I'm telling you, man, it's about money, man. It really is. And if you look at a lot of the prominent figures in our culture, in our black culture, you know, I wonder oftentimes why they don't understand it the way those of us who don't have those financial resources do. Is it that they do and they choose not to? Is it that they do, they don't want to lose what they got? Is it because the ones who seem to get it are the ones that get put in a place, whether it be by their own devices or maybe some bad decisions that they've made in their past that get exposed where other folks don't have those? And when I say that, I think of somebody like Al Sharpton. He got issues. But you know what? If you got something going on, you can sit here and say you wouldn't call him all you want. But the reality is he bringing cameras. And he bringing cameras to expose the crap that you going through. True. And so you got people in our community that ain't feeling him. I got to be honest with you. I have my issues with the man. Yeah. But if something went down, I don't have no problem with him coming to town and exposing the craziness. Then you got somebody like Michael Jackson with all of with the child molestation and stuff. Hey, look, man, I think you're dumb as hell if you let your kid go sleep in the bed with a grown man. Yeah. But Michael Jackson was doing moves because he owned the Beatles catalog, was worth more money than anything that anybody could think of. Bill Cosby wanted to own his own network. You know what I'm saying? And these people, all that stuff came out. Yeah. They stuff comes out. Whereas you don't hear no stuff about certain other people doesn't mean that they don't have no stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just asking
a lot
the
of
question.
stuff they just ain't messed up
I'm
yet.
just asking the question.
They just doing the right thing. I mean, what the man tell them to do.
I said on these airways 2 weeks ago, where there's smoke, there's fire. I think Michael Jackson messed with kids just like I think Bill Cosby messed with women. But the point is, I don't think they the only ones that got skeletons. And there's plenty of people in prominent positions that don't hear you don't hear nothing about, and those are
this ain't messed up yet.
But they quiet.
Yeah.
They don't say nothing because they don't want their stuff to come out. And I just think that's crazy, especially when you got somebody who's got super billions that want to go open a school in another country, but is silent about certain things here in this country. Hello. Yeah. I think I know who I just talked about.
Oh, cut it out.
Yeah, is right.
But if you sovereign with your own land, they can't say or do nothing to you.
Yeah.
The only thing they can do is try to debo you.
But you know what, though? The only thing with that, though, is when the country was not founded with you in mind, when the laws were created and enacted with you not in mind, this country was built on our backs, but it wasn't built for us. They wrote in their own constitution that we 3/5 of a man. True. And anytime you try to put that in their face, they tell you get over it. Everybody else didn't have to get over it, but they tell us to get over it. And so you can have all the lands you want, but we know what eminent domain means too.
True.
So if they would decide, you know what, Marcus J., that nice little piece of land that you got in Chesterfield, Virginia, in the suburbs, we don't want you to have that no more because we want to build a railroad. Yeah. Guess what?
Now
I got to move to Hanover now. I got to move to Matoka.
Yeah, you got to get your soldiers up.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I got to go.
A piece of land.
They going to get me for it. You know.
They definitely coming forward. That's all.
Or I'd be like the dude Bundy and out west where he decided he wasn't moving. I can't remember the dude's name, but he decided that the government trying to impose on his land, he wasn't going nowhere with he wasn't moving his cattle or nothing. Yeah. And he stood right there on his property line with his rifle. And they discussed it with them. You think they would have discussed it with me if I'd have stood there with my rifle? Probably not.
I mean, that's like the brother Malachi Z. York. You know, some years back, you know, he had the land in Georgia and stuff like that, and had the Wabian Nation, you know what I'm saying? Big shout out to them, you know, AEO, Ancient Egyptian Order and all that. And they had a lot of brothers and sisters out there on the land, man. They had their own thing going on, you know, they built pyramids and stuff like that, you know, and, you know, just living the culture out there, you know, and it got to a point where it got heated out there, you know. You know, he was doing it too big for him, you know. He was reaching a lot of people, you know, through his books and stuff like that. And had some real good books out, man. Real good, knowledgeable books, man, from a lot of different levels, man. And you know, basically on a smaller level, man. Basically went to war almost. You know what I'm saying? And try to accuse him for a lot of things and stuff like that. So you know, big shout out to him. I hope everything works out for him. You know, and his family, his people, man. Because he inspired me as a young boy, man. And yeah, but he did it up, man, and he's the only one that I've known in this time period that did it like that.
Right.
You know, if y'all investigate, you know, who Malachi Z. York was, you know, and Yeah, man, he was the one that did it on a big level, on the sovereignty level, and all that stuff like that. And still, like, kind of like 1 foot into the corporation and stuff like that, because he still, was making a lot of money off his books and stuff like that. He was also in the music business back in the day as well, and had family in the music business and stuff like that. Then they created the neo soul, era and stuff like that with D'Angelo and Erykah Badu and all that. So it inspired a lot on the conscious level in the music, and of course in the information and stuff like that. So they really did it big, and learning from him and what he's done, and perfecting, whatever mistakes you can pull out, from that, and move on. I think he's the man, on a certain level, then took the next step.
On a sovereign level, it sounds like that's somebody who we need to look up and follow the method, because it sounds like what he did was successful.
Yes, it definitely was successful. But at the same time, when you get to that point, you got to have your army up.
Yeah.
And he did have his army up, you know what I'm saying? But,
well, the truth is, a lot of people don't want to fight for what they feel they shouldn't have to fight for, and that's where you get a lot of complacency. Yeah. Because you're dealing a lot with those comforts like we spoke of earlier. Yeah. Because it's easier to just say, you know what, I don't feel like fighting. And the guy like this that you're speaking of sounds like he didn't lay down. And, if we talking about land, they try to take his land.
Yeah,
is that what we talking about?
Took all of that, you know what I mean? Because, these brothers and sisters, didn't have the same mentality. You know what I mean? Didn't have the same mentality as everybody else living in the corporations. They was about living off the land, off the useful land. You know what I'm saying? Growing their crops, you know what I mean? Hunting, fishing, and stuff like that. And, making their own clothes and all that stuff like that. So, they're very self-contained and independent, and had good knowledge of self, right knowledge of self, to enhance their consciousness and all that stuff like that, and become a strong, powerful group of people. And it was spreading and spreading and spreading. Right. You know what I'm saying? All through the 90s and, 2000, about 2005 or something like that. So things started slowing down a little bit, because the other guys started getting in. You know how that go. Start going to war,
When you think of somebody
sabotaging,
When you think of somebody like this guy, and you apply his fighter's mentality towards oppression, and then you apply it to a lot of what's going on today with the protests and with the multiple incidences of lack of, shall we say, justice. What do you think is the solution? And again, this is one man's opinion. It's just one man's opinion.
I don't have literally one solution. You know what I mean? I think a solution comes from a group of people, man. You know what I'm saying? Coming together, sharing their thoughts, because no one person had the right decision, my personal opinion. Right. But I might have a good piece of it. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might have the other piece of it. She might have the other piece of it. And then, we keep congregating, then, we come to an agreement. Okay, this is the best way. Right. But we have to have the right heads at the table.
Oftentimes we can't even decide who the right head to be at that table. And when we get to the table, I think this is one of the worst things that we brought from slavery was the mentality that if Big Nod is doing good, Marcus J can't be doing good. Like, there's only room in the world for one person to be doing good at one time. And so I gotta hate you. I have to, so that I can have the drive to do good myself. I think that's a big part of it. We're getting a hit from author Desiree Monique. Appreciate you listening to us, sister. She says that she understands that a lot of people may not agree with her, but she thinks that we should all join the Nation of Islam. They have a solution to all going on right now forever. Accept your own and be yourself is her comment. She continues, because I asked her when she laid that comment out a few minutes ago to give me a little bit more. And so she continues, they hold all the cards because we need our land, which is what you said, Big Knot, and need to separate from people who hate us. We need to get our own pennies, nickels, and dimes together and buy up this land. When the people don't get along, they separate. We don't get along with them, so let's go, is her position. So, Tony, I want to have you, tell me what your thoughts are on what you just heard.
Well, I respectfully disagree with that. To me, that's not realistic. It's not realistic. And, despite our beliefs and how, and what's going on right now, I am for peace with all people. It doesn't matter what color you are, your socioeconomic status, like we need to unite. And that's a big part of the problem too. You can't hold everyone. I'm sorry, I'm out of breath. I'm out of shape. I just walked around the corner. You can't hold everyone in one race accountable, for the actions of a group of people, because, just like all of us aren't bad, not all of them are bad. And I disagree. I just disagree with that. That entire school of thought, all those teachings.
Well, personally, I agree with her in a sense because I understand Islam, and I understand, our people and where we came from, and I understand what Islam have to offer, and, no disrespect to you, what I'm saying, if you don't understand that. But if you investigate certain things, like everything has some good and bad inside of it.
Absolutely.
So when it depends on what you're looking for. Certain things have what you need, certain tools are what you need, you know what I mean? And you can go over here to get your tool, you know what I'm saying, to put together your formula or where you trying to go. You know what I mean? Like, I've been through a lot of those, different religions and stuff I had studied and traveled through. And what I really learned is tools. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. And, sometimes, some people don't want to become all one with, the Nation of Islam or the Moorish Temple or be Christian, because there's so many different sects and everybody's separated here and separated there. Like you was talking about the head, like Clarence 13 next, he's the Nation of Gods and Earth, the 5%ers and stuff like that.
He was the original.
Yeah, and he was the one that say, actually him and York have come up with, the Supreme Mathematics and stuff like that. And he was the one that always say that, you all are gods. You know what I'm saying? It's no one head. Don't look at me, Clarence 13 next, like the head. You know what I'm saying? Because somebody take the head off, then the whole thing is gone.
Right.
You know what I mean? The whole shebang is gone. And that's in Islam from his perspective, and that's also a perspective that comes from the Bible and Christianity. If you're a Christian, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of these religions relate to each other. Like, for example, like in Psalms 82 verse 6, it says, "Ye are gods, and all are children of the Most High." And so I'm saying, so it's saying the same thing, basically in Islam, but by going against each other.
Oh, right. And there's definitely some overlap. There's definitely some overlap. I am a Christian, and I had a very close relationship with a 5%er for a while. So very eye-opening. And I truly believe that the only true religion is your own, because people can put whatever they want in front of you, but it's your responsibility to do your own research, and find out more about it on your own and for yourself. So, I'm a Christian, but one of my best friends is an agnostic. And I don't believe that because he doesn't believe in God that he's going to hell. He's a great person, and I know that I'm gonna see him in my heaven. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely that overlap, and I'm not saying, Muslim, Islam.
Well, see, I'm saying, like, when I was saying, like, certain tools, like your certain formula. Say, if you're looking to get with your people and acquire your own land from your ancestors, well, by you being a Christian, that's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And through Islam, through the channel of Islam, you can do that. You see what I'm saying? But you got to realize you're dealing with something your ancestors came from, and then something that was forced on your ancestors.
But as a
I mean, that's
Christian,
a
I
choice.
believe that as a child of God, I can have whatever in this earth,
And I
on
think-
this earth
True.
that
I think-
is
true.
for me.
I think that's the slippery slope that we
True.
end up on. Arthur,
It's all about what you want, what you
Desiree,
looking for.
Desiree Monique is saying that he came from the Nation. I think she's referring to Clarence X, who we know was in the Nation of Islam before he split with them in the late 60s. And, of course, we know the Nation of Gaza Earth came, following that split.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why a lot of their doctrines, and I'm not a 5%er, but I understand, I guess, shall we say, basic mathematics. I know 1 + 1.
Yeah.
But I haven't graduated to the trigonometry of the science of the Nation of Gaza Earth, and I hope you guys don't mind me having a little bit of fun with it. But I agree with both of you, actually, and Desiree Monique is saying it's not about religion, it's about being black. I understand that as well, and that's the reason why I think it's a slippery slope.
It's about knowledge itself.
It's about knowledge itself, but it's also everybody thinks their way is right. And your way ain't right, and my way ain't wrong. Your way is your way, and my way is my way. I think the key is...
That's why I say keep traveling.
That's why you definitely got to keep
Keep
traveling.
traveling.
And you know what direction you need to be going in, too. But I think the key is when we were building a minute ago about everybody coming to the table and everybody bringing their knowledge of self and their wisdom and their understanding, then we can get to some next level stuff. Because the truth of the matter is we need the Nation of Islam. You know what I'm saying? We need
The Christians world too.
we need the
as well.
Christians and we need the black Muslims and we also need the agnostics because the agnostics are going to be, and that's me, by the way, that's going we're the ones who going to come at it with the logic of, first of all, an agnostic is not an atheist. A lot of people think that we are, we're not. We know that there's a higher power.
True.
I mean, you can sit here and give me evolution all you want, but there had to be that initial spark.
Yeah.
So that's the deal with that, and I won't get too far off point, but the truth of the matter is you have to have all that thought process, because the truth is we could sit here and look at the 60s and see that Martin Luther King and Malcolm X was two different type of cats, but
they both were needed.
they was both necessary. We both was, they was both needed. So, Desiree Monique, I agree with you when you say it's not about religion, it's about being black, because the truth is I don't subscribe to a religion. Me personally, I made a choice in a different show at a different time. We can talk about my reasons why, but I just don't do it. And I grew up a Christian, and some of my favorite people are Muslims. And when I look at a country that I live in that makes it out to be that all Muslims are bad, I'm offended by that. But I'm also offended by the Christian person that'll tell me if I don't believe that Jesus died on the cross for my sins, that I'm going to hell. And I'm offended by, a lot of stuff. So, I think we understand each other. So we're going to get out of the segment. We're going to take a break. And in the next segment, we're going to have some fun. We got some what the hell. We got some wacky what the hell. Some stuff that's going to make you really say what the hell. So I got my sister Tony and I got my brother Big Nod. Ain't no how stepping with Marcus J. Be back in a few minutes.
All right.